This video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs.
Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 16 breakdown for our first BT12 regionals here in North America for the Digimon card game. It's CoreTCG's webcam regional that happened this past weekend, and a couple of things before we get started. One, shoutouts to Core for not only running the event, but for letting myself and Tyler do the commentary for it. If you guys aren't following Tyler on YouTube, make sure to do that. Links in the description. Co-commentator for me, great sport, and really enjoyed having him all day for it. We did stream it on my Twitch, which is on and linked on my Twitch right now, which is on this page, which also Eggman events. You guys should check this out, which has all the deck lists for you guys as well. And also it will be re-uploaded from Twitch to YouTube within a week as well. So if you guys don't want to watch it on Twitch, it'll be there in the next week or so for you guys to watch here. And finally, if you guys do appreciate all this work, all this effort, and all these deck lists, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. I do put a lot of work into these, and I always want to make sure that a lot of this stuff is accessible for you guys. And if you get value from it, it goes just a long way for me on that one. So anyways, going on into this event, we did have 480 players for this one, and we do have the total archetype breakdown to a point. There are a lot of decks with 10 or less kind of archetypes in them, so kind of condensed them to kind of the main ones. So almost 120 Beelzemon X, 70 Hunter, 59 WarGrey, 55 Red Hybrid, 26 Black WarGrey, and sometimes the WarGrey and Black WarGrey is kind of in between sometimes, but we'll go over my distinctions for it too. 25 Machine Demons, 14 All Force, 14 Gallant, 13 Bloom, 12 Crossheart between Merva or Cross 7 kind of lumped together, and then 74 in that other category as well. And then going into the top 16 archetypes, we did have a whopping 8 of the BWGX, which is crazy there. 2 Hunters, 2 Red Hybrids, a Black WarGrey X, a Yellow Hybrid, a WarGreymon, and a Security Control as well. So even though this is just our first big tournament, we do see a big half of this pie is going to the BWGX, and that's a little concerning to me, I'll be honest. I think it's understood that this is a really strong deck, and it is the most representative of decks that got in there, but with that 50% conversion rate, essentially it's pretty crazy there. I think that's something that's a little addressed, because if you look top 16 for Hunters and also everything else, it kind of is the same kind of thing, at least at top. So Red Hybrid about where it's at there. Also for Hunters, WarGrey, if you kind of bump it together with Black WarGrey. Yellow Hybrid, for the record, only one player played it. It was Coleman. He got in top 16, so that's really cool success rate. Security Control too, not a lot of people running that, and did get your conversion there, but yeah, I'm honestly hoping for a little bit more diversity in the next couple of formats. We'll see if that ends up being a thing, but I don't think we're going to contest that. BWGX is a really strong deck, and it's doing very well as well. But we're going to talk about each one of the top placing archetypes, starting off with our first place list. So we do have John Flores' first place BWGX, and we do have a lot of diversity in some choices for these decks. I do like the fact that, this is such a long-standing archetype that we have a lot of different pieces in different areas or different levels in format. But I think we're starting to, get towards a singular point. But again, I will talk about some decision points, what kind of decision makes that John made for this. And again, if you don't like this deck, there's 7 other BWGXs you can look at. But in general, I think 12 or 13 rookies, 12 being between the EX2, the Star Deck 14, and the X Antibody. That's generically your 12 that you always run. You can run this Imon, which he did, which can get some recycle, which is nice. And then for your level 4s, Wizardmon and Wizardmon X, as well as Witchmon, usually somewhere between 8 and 10. I'd say you can be really greedy and go only 8 if you don't want to go up your lines as much, but that's generically what it is here. Deciding not to run the Beelzemon X, which is a decision point too, and if you're not running X Antibody, which is yet again another decision point, then I could see why you would not want to run this. The level 6 spot is pretty understood. It's a mix of 2 of the X Antibodies and then 5 of either, a combination of either of these 2 Beelzes, so whichever one you like more, and then 1 or 2 copies of Blast Mode as well. And then 4 Deathslingers, 4 of the Rivals Barrage, a 7th full cluster, which you can run a second copy if you really want to, and also the Ayamako, which 3 or 4 copies of this is a really good card. It can really start your turn, and then Yaman is traditionally the best egg for it. So that's kind of a quick breakdown of what I've been seeing for a lot lot of these. I've been looking over a lot of these deck lists already this early into the format, and again, you do have some decision points for it, but so they're not all 100% similar, but they are starting to kind of converge on the list that people are kind of liking. So anyways, this is John's list. Congratulations for their first place finish on that one. Next up, we do have our third place. So we do have Jeffrey Kang's third place, Black WarGreymon X. So this list is pretty solid, and again, we're probably going to talk about both the let me find it. Yeah, we're going to talk about both of our Greymon decks at the same time, just because like they're pretty similar in a lot of ways, and I just kind of want to talk about what pieces I like to go for this. But I do like Jeffrey's kind of tech here. He's running the Megadramon, so which we'll see in other decks in this top 16 as well. But Digivolve for 5, but just says when Digivolving, both players trash the top 5 cards of their deck. Which, if you are playing against the Beelzy, this can just win you the game on deck out, which again I think is a very viable strategy for a lot of decks too. So. And then, it does have a non-deletion that doesn't really matter for this case, but this is a really good way to try to end the game if they're being really greedy with their mills, if they're, being really aggressive with it. So I do like that as kind of like the top end for you. And then I'm calling this one a Black War Grey X deck because you are running 2 of the X antibodies and 2 of the generic Black War Grey. And just the fact that you're able to use this to, get the advantage of not only like tamer removal, but like some like restanding ability too, which I think is great. And then deciding to use piercing as well as Metal Greymon X as well. This one. So again, you just have so many different lines for Greymon at this point. This game's been out for quite a bit now. So being able to use the ones that you like a lot, I think makes a lot of sense for me too. So deciding also to not choose like the new BT12 Greymon that lets you play a tie tamer, even though you're running 4, I think is really interesting. And also running the, but you are running like the Greymon Phoenix 1, which essentially has the same ability. So when attacking once per turn, you can play a tie with the cost of 3 or less from your hand without paying its memory cost. So I think that's like a good trade-off for it as well. It can be kind of helpful. And you're doing a lot of attacking anyways, so it's great for that too. I think that's all I want to talk about for this list. We've been seeing Black WarGreymon since for almost a year now. Like this, just the idea with how the BT8 version works. I think the deck is still strong. Obviously, a little bit not as strong with Greymon X antibody, but there are some builds for it. And I think like again the Megadramon tech is really smart for the Beelzy, and I want to know how much this pans out. So. Maybe if Jeffrey watches that, he can comment and let us know. But anyways, congratulations to Jeffrey for their finish on that one. And then moving right along, we had Hansen with their 8th place WarGreymon. So this is definitely more of an aggressive build, and with just the idea that you can kind of go up your chain a little bit more and pressure your opponent with what you're doing. Like just like the fact that the WarGreymon here has a lot of ability to this. And this is just WarGreymon too. There's no X like you're not running WarGreymon X, even though you can run the X antibody package. So again, like there's just so much flexibility with a lot of these lines. And there's just so many level 6 WarGreymons, I'll be honest, that you can choose the ones you like the most. I do like the BT12 one a lot. The fact that it does have raid, and the fact that it also has a reboot, and like it essentially has like a double blocker, which is nice if you have it on it. With should be pretty easy with the tie on the tamer too. But again, I think the biggest thing and the strength about these WarGreymon decks too is that you can really smokescreen a lot of stuff. And so if your opponent doesn't know what your specific techs are or what you're doing, if you're even, if you're a WarGreymon aggressive top, or if you're like a Black WarGreymon defensive top kind of thing, your opponent won't really know it until they start playing your deck, right? So that kind of giving your opponent some ambiguity, which they can't play around with 100%, I think does work to your favor a lot of the time. And we don't generally get that a lot from Digimon. Generally we see what the egg that's being hatched in the like first rookie, and they're like, oh, I know what deck that is, right? But with these kind of like the different flexibility with Greymon right now, you can really kind of smokescreen a lot of stuff with it, which I think is really neat too. So anyways, this is Hansen's list, and congratulations for their finish there. Next up, we have Coleman's 6th place Yellow Hybrid, and really, really cool to see this list do well, and I think it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. Just the fact that we did watch one match on stream with it too. If you guys want to see that, I highly recommend seeing the match too. But just the fact like this deck can be just really defensive and just very kind of tricky to deal with in a lot of ways too. You obviously don't get a lot of recovery in this build specifically, only off of the, not off the Venusmon, but only off the Jet Sophie, but you're able to use like a Venusmon to stall out a lot of the time. which can be really impactful. Again, if you're playing against the Beelzemon that's just being very, very aggressive with their mills, and they're not representing or, understanding just how stally this deck can be, they can just mill themselves out and just have a bad time with it. So I think that's really neat. And again, Coleman was the only yellow hybrid player for this entire event, which is amazing to get, a sixth place finish in a 408 person tournament with that. I think that's really impressive. So shout outs to Coleman for that accomplishment there. Nothing really new with this. I think it's just a lot of the generically older stuff. Sunrise Buster, Tai, and Kari, and also the Rise Gray X for some extra value, but not really like a super big top end. You run Death X, you have your one Susanamon as well, but this is just like a lot of value you still get from this deck. The fact that you can just win by just doing your chain Digivolves on hybrids and just staying them in one by one, I think is good, and I think it still can be strong right now as well. So congrats to Coleman for their finish here. And then next up we have Dwight with their 9th place Hunter, and so no Hunter decks in the top 8, which is a little bit surprising. They did have records to get there, just didn't squeak on in. And again, I've said this a couple times that Hunter is quite a strong deck right now, but it's not there's not a lot of flexibility in deck building. I think the newest kind of quote-unquote tech that we have is the Uamano, which is from BT10, which essentially just have its all turn effects. Once per turn, when a purple card is placed under this tamer, you get to draw one and gain a memory, which can be really nice on the defense too. When you're playing your purple guys and they get saved, you're able to use this to get some extra memory from your opponent. So I think that's kind of neat and kind of nice for what it is as well. Most of the lists that are playing with superior mode do go into Quartz if they have the chance to, or at least have the potential for it, for kind of like the lock for it. I don't know how I really feel about this, to be honest. I think it can be strong, and if you are playing the deck right now and you do like Quartz a lot, let me know in the comments. But generally, I see people go into it, and it just never really pays off. Most of the time, you can't keep it your turn when you go into this. And even though it's a level 7, a lot of decks do have a lot of ways to deal with this, even with everything suspended a lot of the time. And sometimes it does get really obnoxious, but other times I feel like you're just spending a lot of memory for sometimes buying like one turn, and you lose a lot of resources going up the chain into it as well. So I don't know, especially since it's kind of clunky with specifically Astamon sometime, which can only you can only Digivolve on top of this can only do the when Digivolving on top of either the Psychomon or purple, which is only a Restramon, so or pretty much the other chain side, which you're not really running. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting tech, but I'm not 100% on board with it anyways. But I do like this deck in general. There's a lot of cool plays, and in general, I mean, if you're able to find a Restramon or a superior mode, sometimes there's almost always an out, which I think is cool. There's never a lot of there's very few times when you're in a situation where you're just like, I guess I can't win, right? There's always the chance to find the pieces you need to be able to go up your chains. Sometimes it's unlikely, and sometimes it's having a 4K attack into security, and then if it lives, you go into superior mode and win at end of turn. But the chance that or just the fact that chance exists in the first place means that I like this deck and I like what it does. So, anyways, this is Dwight's list. Play Hunter while you can, because you can't play an Ultimate Cup format this next month, which is kind of sad. Because again, as a Crossheart player again, but again, congrats to Dwight there. 2 more lists, so we're going to go into Patrick's Red Hybrid, which I promise has Yokomon Digi-Eggs. I'll fix that in the actual link too, but we've been seeing this deck do pretty good as it is. I think this is probably doing a little bit better than I originally thought it would be as well, so I think it has a lot of potential for aggression. Your Flamemons are great, especially like the new one from BT12 being able to play, and trash one to draw to. Especially since your Takuya from BT7 needs to have your hybrids in the trash in the first place, which is really nice. I do like the idea of Gravity Crush, especially since not a lot of decks are playing like Gazimons or any of the memory blockers. And then just the new Emperor Greymon is very strong. Atomic Inferno can just win you the game at times too. And you just have like a lot of, you don't have a lot of resources, to be honest, but you can use your resources very aggressively to get where you need to get with it. And if your opponent just gives you a couple turns to be able to punch their face, sometimes you just go in, and there's not as much like security control. Or most like security is like moderately safe right now, so like Atomic Inferno can sometimes just get you there in the same time. So anyways, this is Patrick's list. I will add the Digitama on the actual list, so make sure to check that out, and congrats again to Patrick on that one. And then finally we have Juan Sanchez with their 12th place security control, and this is a deck that I still thought was out of the meta. We didn't have a lot of people on it, but Juan was here to win with it. Again, he was running the Megidramon, which can make a big impactful switch to this game. You can only Digivolve it on top of the Maycrack, so that is something to consider, just kind of how flexible it is. But it is also purple, which means you can Calling from the Darkness both a Maycrack as well as a Megadramon and kind of go up your chains with it as well. You only have Gatomon you can Digivolve on top of it, but you can also like Flame Hell Scythe, get the Maycrack out, and then Digivolve into Megadramon on top of it. So that's kind of nice there too. And just with the fact that you can mill your own stuff, which sometimes you do want stuff in the trash, so you can use Flame Hell Scythe with it is good. And it's just a really interesting card, and I like the idea for it too. Sakuyamon as well, being able to prevent just things being pushed up and attacking, which still kind of happens a little bit in this meta as well, especially in something like Impmon can push up and then go up your chain all the way. And yeah, I don't know, like I don't think like security control is as good because we're not doing as much as like the standard OTK, right? Like Grandis isn't as popular and not really around right now. And those kind of decks in general, you just don't have like the big punch. You have like a lot of smaller punches or just kind of some mid-range. So sometimes it can do work and you can get rid of it. But if your opponent has a lot of attacks that you can't just absorb, then you're kind of in a bad spot. But I think the deck is okay. I know a lot of people just want this deck to die in general, but it's still here. We'll see if it does anything in the next couple weeks. And again, congrats to Juan for their finish on that one. But that is going to be my breakdown. I'm pretty exhausted if I'm being honest. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, enjoyed the deck list, and again, congrats to our top 16 players. Thank you again to Core for letting Tyler and I do this event. Make sure to follow Tyler on YouTube as well. And make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I really would appreciate it as well. So anyways, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll catch you all next time.